Welcome to the Portland Culinary Podcast on Portland Culinary Radio. I'm Stephen Shelmy, your host. We tell the stories of the Portland culinary scene and beyond. And today I'm excited. We're going to be talking about FoodTrekking World. Joining me is my friend Erik Wolf, who is the founder and executive director of the World Food Travel Association. Now, that was a mouthful.
Morning, Stephen.
All right, so what the heck, as we get started, there's a lot of cool things I want to talk about. I'm really excited for this episode, but what is the World Food Travel Association that you started and you run and make the magic happen at?
We're a nonprofit organization based here in Portland, Oregon, and we create economic opportunities where food and beverage meet travel and hospitality.
Okay, say that again. You create opportunities where...
Economic opportunities where food and beverage meet travel and hospitality.
So people can make money from people traveling and eating and drinking.
Yes, exactly.
See how smart I am? All right. So that kind of sounds like almost like we're talking about food tourism.
Exactly. It's what this is, food tourism, pure and simple.
Okay, and even though that's pure and simple, some people don't get it because food tourism is way bigger than people think. For those that don't know, what actually is food tourism?
You know, that's a great question. A lot of people misunderstand it, or they think they understand what it means. They think it's restaurants or wineries, and that's pretty much it. And that's not the case at all. Food tourism is an industry that I helped to found almost 20 years ago, and it incorporates almost 20 different sectors of the food, beverage, travel, and hospitality industries. So it's everything from restaurants and wineries and breweries, yes, but it's tour companies, it's hotels, it's food and beverage exporters. It's really a huge, huge industry.
All right, now you alluded to your story. I want to have you back sometime as a guest on the Portland Culinary Podcast to tell your story about the starting food tourism, when you started cooking those things. But this episode, we're talking about FoodTrekking World. So when someone is a food tourist, what does that mean? What do they do when they travel somewhere else? What makes it food tourism?
Okay, well, most people are actually food travelers now. We do a lot of research in our association. We discovered last year that 95% of travelers are food travelers now. And what that means is that 95% of people are engaging in some kind of unique and memorable food or beverage experience other than eating out when they're traveling. So, for example, it could be someone who comes to Portland. Maybe they're here for a convention or to visit friends, but they have a list with them of places that they want to go. They may be things that they've seen television episode or things they've read about or something that's been on Diners, Drives, and whatever that show is. I can't remember. Too many words. But they have a hit list. They come here and they know that they want to go to Oregon Wines on Broadway. They want to go to Culmination Brewing. They want to go to Stumptown Coffee. They want to go to Voodoo Donuts. These are the iconic places that destinations are known for. And those are just places in Portland. Every city has got those kinds of places that people want to visit.
Okay, so it's not just going out to eat.
Not at all. That's just a small part of it.
And the trick is to be able to offer people experiences beyond just going out to eat.
Yeah, we like to say that it's a memory, not just a meal. And so when people think that it's just about putting together a restaurant list or directing people to where to eat, that's really just part of the story. That's not really that doesn't offer an experience. That you're just serving a meal there.
So what do you think has caused the rise? You said there's been a big increase. What, 47%, 95%? Those are your statistics, right?
Yeah, it used to be 47% of travelers would engage in something unique and memorable for food and drink. Now it was 95% last year. And I think the rise is really attributable to the role of the media and all of the shows on television about chef competitions, ingredients, Andrew Zimmern with his show where he's eating insects and things. You know, people love food. Everyone eats and drinks. It's something we all do. It's a common denominator among all humans. So it stands to reason that anytime you talk about something that everybody loves, it's going to be of interest to people. And so when you have places like Portland or, the scene in Chicago is quite hot, or famous restaurants or chefs doing molecular gastronomy, these things are now noteworthy. They're newsworthy.
Okay, I want to revisit those statistics. I think they're pretty fascinating. So how long ago was the 47%?
That was 2010.
So 2010, 40% of travelers, so 100% of travelers, when they're traveling, go out to eat. So you're not talking about that. You're talking about, in addition to just going out and getting a meal, 47% in 20 would go do something else in addition to going and getting some food, some kind of experience.
Correct, yeah.
And then the 95%, now it's gone from 47 to 95, where not only they go get a bite to eat, but they go somewhere else and do something else food-related.
Right. They might do a food tour. They might visit a specific brewery. They might visit a specific winery. They'll go to a gourmet store to do some shopping for souvenirs to take back home. They'll look for things that they can bring back and maybe even ask for distributors to try and import those products to where they live. So it's really quite a diverse group of activities that food travelers can engage in.
One of the things that I love about Portland is we have chocolatiers, and there's a couple chocolate places here in Portland where they offer tours.
Yes, Pitch Dark, I think, is one of them.
Yeah, exactly. So that's the kind of thing you're talking about, where someone could be Googling and checking out what's going on and say, hey, I want to go on a chocolate tour while I'm in Portland.
Yeah. And, food is our sport in Portland. I mean, we are a food destination. We don't have massive stadiums or we don't have a huge manufacturing industry, but our industry is food and beverage. People come here. It's like a Disneyland for foodies. You go from one ride to another.
No, we have an embarrassment of culinary riches here, but I think it doesn't matter where people go, wherever they go. A couple months ago, I went to Louisville, Kentucky, and I definitely was a food tourist. I did some brewery tours. I did some distillery tours. I found really cool places for donuts and this amazing French toast for breakfast. And so I don't think it matters. Does it matter? Does food tourism work even if you're in, say, Iowa?
Absolutely. It certainly can work. Food tourism is about seeking out those unique and memorable food and drink experiences. So even if you're just a little pastry shop in the middle of nowhere in Iowa, if you have the best, apple fritter, people will drive hours to experience this. People are obsessed with food. And when you were in Louisville, Kentucky, I'm not surprised you had a great experience. They won our annual FoodTrekking Awards last year for the best foodie destination. And I was there a couple years ago, too. And besides the bourbon, which we all know about, they've got a great ice cream store. And did you try the hot brown sandwich while you were there?
I did. Brian Yeager and I went. We had a hot brown sandwich. And the coolest thing is we were in the bar.
Yeah.
It was our first night there. And the guy behind the bar had lived in Portland for 4 years and then had moved back. So we just had a great visit.
Nice.
And the hot brown sandwich blew my mind.
Yeah, not healthy, but got to have one once in your lifetime.
No, and it was fantastic. I absolutely loved it. It was terrific. And just a lot of good breweries. Just really impressed. Against the Grain, just to give a shout out to one of the breweries there that I really, really like.
Yeah,
so.
It's a great food destination and really underrated. People don't really think of Louisville as a place to go to eat and drink. Maybe the bourbon might come to mind, but no, it's a great place.
No, I had fantastic chicken. I had amazing beer, amazing bourbon, cookies. I found this little cookie shop that was great.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned food tourism. So just last night, the Portland Culinary podcast is often recorded at Culmination Brewing. And last night I was here. I was sitting down at the end of the bar, came to take some pictures, and I met a couple that was from Los Angeles. He works down there, and he and his wife, he came to Portland for basically a food tourism trip. He loves craft beer. He's crazy about craft beer. He loves El Segundo Brewing down in California, and they did a collab with Grains of Wrath, which is a really cool brewery, not even open yet in Camas, but Michael Hunsaker knows storytelling, so he's done a collab with a big California brewery.
Yeah.
So this guy heard about Portland from that, decided that he would come up, and I'm really glad one of his stops was Culmination. I met him, Tony and Julie, wonderful people, gave him a tour of the brewery, just myself, and had a wonderful time. But on their list, even though he loves beer, you could do beer 24/7 in Portland, but they were going to some donut shops, they were going to some restaurants, they were going to some food carts, they were probably going to go to Egg Carton today for breakfast and have hollandaise sauce. So even though he loved beer, because he was traveling with his wife, they had a well-rounded experience. I speculate it really doesn't matter what your city's known for, people are going to do that and the other things.
Exactly. People do take these lists with them when they travel, and I'm not surprised your story about Portland. I mean, I am always meeting people who come here for the food and drink. I mean, just yesterday I was talking to a group of 3 people down from Seattle that came to Portland to eat. Seattle's also a great eating town, but I think it's funny they came down to Portland to see what we've got to offer.
And I think you mentioned that all the shows, we've got kind of culture now. Even in the beer world, we have a term I heard recently, a beer celebrity. They're a beer celebrity, or a celebrity chef, or a chef celebrity.
Yeah.
But it's not just. I think you're exactly right. That's one of the factors has been all the shows and all the media. But I think another thing, 2 other factors I think contribute. One is millennials. They love experiences.
Yeah, I think people in general are increasingly moving in that direction. I mean, maybe it was the millennials that started to embrace that first, but I think even older generations are embracing that. We don't want to be talked at. We want to get out there and do. And it's the doing generation. And because we have so much technology available to us, we are able to do. We spend less time investigating now and more time actually getting out there and doing.
So I don't know your early childhood journey, but did you go to kindergarten?
I did.
I think that a lot of what we can learn about what's happening goes back to kindergarten.
How so?
Show and tell.
Okay.
Because social media allows us to show and tell. So I mentioned Tony and Julie. They followed me on Instagram. I followed them back, and I looked at their pictures, and they'd been sharing their Portland journey on Instagram with their friends back in LA.
That's really insightful. It is literally show and tell from kindergarten, but as an adult.
And it's fun. And all of the comments and likes I got from their friends in LA in multiple languages was how great it was and how they were excited for them. And it's a joy to. So I think one of it's millennials. I think they've kind of led the charge for let's have experiences, not just stuff. And I think also the idea that we can, with social media, and that I can share with people that care what's going on.
Yeah, the world is really just as small as your phone now. And, I've got friends literally all over the world. And whenever I go somewhere and eat and I post photos of things, I'm always getting likes. And there's a guy in St. Petersburg, Russia, and he's obsessed with what I eat. It cracks me up.
Yeah, I get grumpy sometimes when I see your stuff. Because, really, you're eating that food. What was that amazing ice cream you had? Was that in Peru last year?
I can't remember. Peru had some amazing desserts.
Yeah, you had some incredible ice cream. I was like, oh my gosh, I am so jealous of that. I still think about that. Okay, so FoodTrekking World. What is FoodTrekking World?
FoodTrekking World is a biennial conference where food and beverage, travel, and hospitality professionals come together to meet, learn, and do business.
Okay. Pretty good event.
It's a fantastic event. It's the largest event for our industry, and what it does is it really it helps. You could be a restaurant owner or a winemaker and say, well, why would I come to a conference like this? You come to a conference like this to expand your mind, to learn new things, to discover new ways to diversify your revenue stream. For example, yes, you're a winemaker, and you get some visitors, but what are some other opportunities available to you that maybe you hadn't thought of before? So it's hearing the speakers coming from all over the world to share their stories and examples of what they're doing. It's talking to other professionals visiting from around the world and what they're doing. You'll find new business partners. You'll find new prospects. It's a great event.
So you'll get education to learn how to do what you do more effectively.
And new ideas.
You'll have a fun time.
Oh, yeah.
And you'll get some amazing food.
Oh, yeah. Food and drink.
So what are some of the other cities that you've had? Because FoodTrekking World's biennial happens every other year.
Right.
So what are some of the other cool cities that it's taken place at?
We've done it in Gothenburg, Sweden, which is kind of like a Swedish version of Portland.
That's just a cool name, Gothenburg. I love that.
It's a pretty cool little town, completely underrated. I mean, Stockholm's a great town. It's the capital and everything, but Gothenburg it's the underdog, and really, really enjoy that city. Also, Victoria, British Columbia, kind of like a mini Portland. Really a wonderful food and beverage scene there. And we also have done the event in San Francisco, and that city speaks for itself. No introductions necessary there. But where will it be in 2019? No idea. Not yet.
How about Louisville? That would be cool.
That might be cool, yeah.
Or overseas somewhere.
Yeah, we do have to move around to make sure that people don't think we're being too American-centric.
Yeah, so why did you choose Portland?
We chose Portland because we had never done an event in Portland before. We're based here, and it's a great case study for people. The city, in many ways, sells itself for the food and beverage, and people want to come here. So we felt that it would be a great destination for people from elsewhere to come. And besides the great event and all that good stuff, to see a living example of food tourism at its best.
Yeah, and I think, my opinion, I'm a bit biased because I think Portland's one of the most amazing food cities in the world, but I think we do really good with our restaurants. I think we do good with our beer, our wine, coffee. I mean, tourists who come here for donuts. I think we have a growing, amazing chocolate scene. We have we have more cideries in Portland than any other city in the United States. People don't even think of us as a cider scene. So when it comes to food, we're blessed. But all of those places, one of the things I think the advantage we have, like take breweries. There's 116 breweries in about an hour drive of here. That means that you have to be distinctive and tell your story if you're going to succeed. And so they've kind of forced to figure out the stuff that you'll be teaching at the conference.
Right. We've got Benjamin Brown from Princess Cruises. He's going to be talking about content marketing. And, these are buzzwords that you've heard around before, but we want to present things from a different angle. So Benjamin's going to help those business owners understand new angles that they can approach this from. You're right, 116 breweries. How are you going to get your slice of the pie? How are you going to get those visitors to come to you? How are you going to expand and even export your product elsewhere? And FoodTrekking World is the kind of place where you're going to be inspired and learn about ways to do those things.
All right, so let's. I love the schedule. Let's talk about the schedule. What's going to happen as far as the schedule that people are going to experience?
Well, Sunday, April 2nd, people arrive, and we start off with the walking tours, the foodie walking tours of Portland, delivered by Forktown Food Tours. And so that'll really introduce people to the city and what we've got to offer. Then an opening reception that night with some local food and drink just to kind of orient people to the city and so on. Dine around, so we'll be giving out lists of restaurants and recommendations, some of our favorite places. Then the Monday and Tuesday, that's when the education and the B2B appointments take place. So we'll alternate between both, a little bit of education, a little bit of networking, a little bit of coffee breaks and so on. And then Tuesday, April 4th, that ends with our FoodTrekking Awards for excellence in food and beverage tourism experiences.
Now, I like the food, but I like the visiting, which is really cool. So let's go back to Sunday. So you're going to give people have a chance to take a tour in the afternoon. That's what, from 1 to 4?
Yeah, about.
And so they'll get a walking tour around Portland, which is phenomenal, because if you can do that, that is a great thing to do. Okay, and then after that, we get a reception. We get together, visit, get to meet each other, hang out together.
Yep. Over food and drink. Alcohol always helps with that.
Yes, it does. And then anytime I've been in an event that you've done and there's food and drink, it's off the chart. I think I've had some of the best cocktails I've ever had at events you've been a part of. And then after that, we kind of head out on our own. We go out and find dinner or find whatever there is to have. Go to a brewery, go to a restaurant, go to wherever.
Yeah, go out into the foodie wonderland and explore.
Okay, and then the next morning, Monday, we get together, and then you've got these coffee breaks built in where we can visit and connect with people and build networking connections, because maybe two businesses in two different parts of the world can start finding some synergy and talking about each other.
Exactly. So if people don't get a chance to have a meeting together in the B2B appointments, then they can connect over the coffee breaks as well.
Yeah, because I've run into all kinds of people at those kind of events where like, I want to write about that, or I want to tell that story. So it's phenomenal. All right, so you've got a world-class lineup of speakers. And we can't cover all of them, but what are some of the speakers we want to mention?
Well, I think that I'm really excited to bring our MC, Adnan Nawaz, to Portland. He's a newscaster for the BBC based in London. And he emceed an event we did a couple years ago, and he's an amazing person. He is so articulate, so knowledgeable. He can talk about anything on the fly, and I'm just impressed with his talent, and he's a great MC, so we're really excited to be working with him this year.
And he's got a broad perspective, given his travel, his background, his education.
Very much so, yeah.
Yeah, that's going to be really... Okay, who else would you like to mention?
Well, I'm kind of excited to hear what Chase Ramsey has to say. Chase is an actor and a director. He has a show on the Food Network. He also is the star of the California Dream Eater series on YouTube. And that is you should really check that out. It's an amazing series that Visit California put together that gets people off the beaten track. And in a day where cities like LA and San Francisco are overrun with tourists, the tourists are looking now for the secondary and tertiary destinations. If San Francisco is too expensive, if I can't find parking, if the traffic is untenable, where can I go next? And so this series was put together to introduce people to other parts of the state, like Bakersfield, Fresno, Eureka, places that would not normally be on people's radars. And I think that foodies, we're explorers, and food travelers are absolutely explorers. We get out into the nooks and crannies of cities and countries and regions and the highways and byways. It's not all about the city experiences.
Yeah, and we'd love to find those cool things. What is it? On the way to Mount Hood, there's that little donut shop that everyone loves to stop at, Joe's Donuts. And when you meet someone who finds it for the first time, they think they found a gem that no one else knows about, because it's not, on the way to Mount Hood from here, it's not really off the beaten path, but you don't expect to find this cool donut shop there. Yeah.
We've got places like that strewn throughout the region.
Yeah, people just absolutely love that. Okay, and how about Stephen Joyce?
Stephen is an amazing guy, very smart. He's based in Vancouver, BC, and he's the CEO of Resgo.com, which is one of the largest reservation systems platforms in the world for tours. And he's going to be sharing what he sees to be the future of technology in the food tourism industry.
All right. And again, I just want to emphasize, because I strongly believe it, no matter what part of the world you're in, you can build a case if you have something interesting and if you tell your story for being part of the food tourism community, where people will find you and they'll drive 2 or 3 hours from wherever they're going to go out to see your thing if you have a cool thing and if you talk about it.
Yeah, I think that you're absolutely right. I think a lot of the smaller business owners don't think that they have something necessarily worth sharing, or they get busy and they forget. And I think that what they're going to hear at FoodTrekking World will help give them ideas and the confidence and the inspiration to do something more.
Yeah, exactly. You have to tell your story. There's something cool going on at your farm, at your vineyard. You just got to tell people and invite them out.
And keep telling those stories as well. It's not just about the cool story of the winemaker, but it's about Bessie the dog, or Bessie the cow, or whatever. I mean, there's always something new and different to share.
Yes, exactly. And use pictures. That's a big deal in this
Absolutely,
world.
pictures and video.
Okay, back to speakers. Gabby Logan.
Gabby, she's a smart woman. She's based in New York City, and she is known in the travel writing field. She has a book on how to create a six-figure income on travel writing, and really an amazing woman. I'm really looking forward to hearing what she has to say. She does workshops on travel writing, and she spends her time partly in New York, partly in Portland, partly in Israel, and she's got some really interesting stories to share.
Oh, I'm looking forward to that. That is going to be awesome. Okay, and then so there's how many? There's 8 speakers?
8 speakers, yes.
8 speakers. So we've covered 3 of them in the MC. There's 5 other speakers if people go to the Food Trekking World website, foodtrekkingworld.org.
Yes, and sometimes I just have to say, for the bad spellers out there, it's trekking like running around with a walking stick. Sometimes people hear food trucking, and why would we do an event on food trucking? So it's food trekking with an E.
So TREKKING. Food trekking.
That's it.
All right. So you had put out a really cool list that we'll share a link in this article to this podcast of some food experiences you encourage people visiting Portland should go to. Talk to me about coming. I love the list. You could put 100 things in there. You put 10. Tell me just a couple of those things.
Yeah, I think we wanted to kind of have a short list for people coming to Portland who are maybe new to the city. It can be a little overwhelming to come here, and there's so much to do. I mean, imagine arriving at Six Flags or Disneyland for the first time, and how do you see everything at once? So we put together our list of favorite places, and some of those are places like Oregon Wines on Broadway. Just if you don't have time to go out to the wine country, you can just pop in there for a glass of something outstanding. 50 Licks Ice Cream, I think, is one of our most underrated ice cream companies here in Portland. I mean, everyone seems to love Salt and Straw and Ruby Jewel, and they're great at what they do, but I love 50 Licks. I think their flavor combinations are amazing. And, of course, no list of Portland food and beverage experiences would be complete without the burger at Tabor Tavern with the bacon jam on the side, so you can put it on yourself and watch the gooiness drizzle off the side.
Yeah, and here's the really cool thing. You can buy a jar of bacon jam to take home.
Yes, you can. Absolutely. $8. Put it in your suitcase.
No, and I think that burger I love. We are blessed with we have great burgers, in my opinion, in Portland. Great pizza and great tacos, and that is one of our top burgers. So
it really is, yeah. And Slow Burger also, but that's not on the list.
Yeah, but we got an embarrassment of burger riches. But just taking some bacon jam home with you. So I want to throw out kind of an off the wall one that just occurred to me. I could, no disrespect to all the other cool places I've been to, but something that we do that's really different is we have a lot of really good vegan food in Portland. I've had a lot of really bad vegan and vegetarian food, but Petunia's Pies and Pastries, they do all vegan pastries, vegan pies, and it's phenomenal. And that's just a different thing that you're not necessarily going to find everywhere.
Yeah, I think talking to my friends who eat either vegetarian or vegan diets, they're frustrated sometimes. They'll go to a conference and they're given a plate of pasta or they're given a salad. And how boring is that? But we really take that to a level here where we create vegetarian cuisine. One of my favorite restaurants was Nutmeg, which is now shuttered, but that was up on Williams, and they had fantastic food. And for those people who might be listening from Seattle, Cafe Flore up there has also been one of my favorite vegetarian restaurants, where you're not just eating vegetables, you're eating vegetarian cuisine.
And one more I'll throw out, Missionary Chocolate. They do vegan chocolate.
That's true, they do. They're quite good.
So I just mentioned that because I love bacon, I love meat, I love pulled pork, but I have a lot of vegan and vegetarian friends. So if you're coming to this conference and you're wondering what is for me in Portland, we've got a cornucopia of amazing vegan and vegetarian food waiting for you.
Yeah, seemingly around every corner.
All right. So anything else we should know about who should come to Food Trekking World?
Anyone in the food, beverage, travel, or hospitality industries. And like I said, people, they might be a small business owner, someone who's got a little cafe or a little tiny restaurant or something like that. They may say, well, I don't really see the fit for me. You're talking about tourism and travelers coming in. That's exactly why you should come in. You need to jumpstart your brain. You need ideas. You need to get those juices flowing. You need inspiration. You need to talk to people from other places who are doing cool things and get inspired by them. And even the bigger places, a brewery like Bridgeport or Rogue, they've got the business process down. They're established brands and they're known, but they can even get ideas of new partnerships. They can create new products that they can create that would appeal to visitors.
Yeah, my friend Alex Nguyen owns Wasabi Sushi PDX, and he started as a food cart a year ago, and now he's got 2 food carts and he's out at Cart Lab, and he's getting open brick and mortar in April. And he told me he's planning to go because he's hungry, he wants to grow his business, and he gets it that he needs to learn this information. So.
Exactly, yeah. And I think many times people think that they can just get stuff online. There's a lot online, but I think it's the critical mass of all this great information and great people, great topics, all in one location.
Well, and it's synergy, and it's very different when you're live face-to-face with someone, and then afterwards, these speakers are accessible. You can stand after their speech and ask them that one question that I didn't quite get that thing, or what was that one point? And that's what I love about a conference like this.
Yeah, Facebook is not a replacement for face-to-face.
I like that. That's very good. All right. Well, Erik, it's been awesome to have you on the Portland Culinary Podcast. I'm so excited for Food Trekking World. I think this is going to be a phenomenal thing. I can't wait to find out where it's going to be in 2019. And I'd love to have you back sometime to talk about your food journey, because I'm very curious where you started cooking and how you got into food tourism. And so will you come back sometime and we'll do that story?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. And before we wrap up, could I just offer a little present to the Portland community? Well,
yes.
Really any of your listeners.
Yes, I would love that.
We serve a lot of small businesses, and we know that the economy is not great right now. So I would like to offer people a special discount. If they use the code SPOON in the checkout, they can save $300 off the registration, which is almost half off. And that is a special code only for Stephen's listeners.
I will promote the heck out of that. Is fantastic. So Spoon. I like that very much. All right.
$300 off.
And spooning is a good thing. So
we love spooning.
If you have a loved one, then you're in great shape.
Yeah.
So. All right. Well, Erik, I love all that you do. Thank you for all that you've done, not just for the Portland culinary community, but for culinary communities all across the planet. You travel the world, and you help people understand what they can do because people travel. And what did you say? 95% of the people are going to do something other than just eat that's food related. And you're kind of like just the chief evangelist for food tourism.
Yeah, everyone eats and drinks. You're right, but it's getting out there, and it's the experiences that we're uncovering and celebrating. It's meeting people like you behind the bar, or meeting that crazy chef or the eccentric donut maker. Those are the kinds of people that they give us fuel for future stories, and they inspire us to share, and that in turn inspires other people to come and experience it themselves.
Yep, exactly. I just was at a wine event and ran into Sophie, and she makes chutney. She's British.
Oh, I know her.
She's British.
Yeah.
She grew up in India. She makes chutney.
Her stuff is great.
And those stories are out there all over the place. And if you're one of those people, you need to come to Food Trekking and learn how to tell those stories so people will come check out your stuff.
Indeed.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us on the Portland Culinary Podcast, Erik. Cheers.
Thank you, Stephen. It was a pleasure.